morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to take a look at the final EXs from Pokémon Card 151. We've had a look at a bunch of the EXs so far, and we might do a quick rundown at the end. I like some of the EXs from this set. I think some of the EXs in this set have a genuine chance of being really very, very good. But before we get to those, we need to have a look at the final two, and I'm going to start off with my boy Golem. Now, as far as I am concerned, and this is obviously very much a personal opinion, but although it's right, back in Gen 1, there was a clear top 3 Pokemon. Number 1 was Porygon, number 2 was Snorlax, and number 3, in a bit of a surprise, was Golem. Sorry, Golem was the third best of the Gen 1 Pokemon. And Golem doesn't get a huge amount of love. Now, we have actually had chase cards for Golem before, but they've not been terribly inspiring. No, I'm not counting Alolan Golem. That don't count. But we did have Golem EX back in Generations. It was just absolute garbage. Did manage to pull an Italian version of this when I commentated Italian Nationals, which was lovely. But when we found out Golem was getting a new EX, I was hoping that it could be quite a bit better than the garbage which was older Golem EX. So what have we actually ended up with here? Well, we've got ourselves a Stage 2, so it's very powerful at 330 HP, and it's got proper art, not CG art, which makes me very happy. And we've got single energy, 50 damage. During your next turn, this Pokemon's attacks deal 120 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Now, this is actually, the way round is really important, because essentially what this means is, if your opponent changes their active, you still do the extra damage. Crucially, if this attack gets a KO, then your next attack will still do the extra damage, which is what I'm really excited about here. I like the idea of getting a KO on a weaker Pokemon with a first attack, and then doing an absolutely gigantic, we're not getting into it too much yet, but you can already see it does a base 180, so you essentially do 300 next turn. I like that. I love the idea of that, despite the fact it's a Stage 2. Yes, the fact that it's a Stage 2 is awkward. However, here's where it gets awkward. Because if your opponent switches you out, say they play something like an escape rope or a boss's orders, then it goes away. You've got to stay in the active. You can KO Pokemon, you can go after their bench Pokemon and all of that. That is absolutely fine. But if you cease to be in the active, then this doesn't work anymore. And you've got to go back to the way it was. And most people are going to know this, especially if they've watched this video, because I've literally just told you. So your opponent will be looking to get, if they're not KOing you, they'll be looking to get you out of the active, KO something else or whatever, and then this is going to stop working. If you can stay active, I adore this. KO on a weaker Pokemon, then giant attack the following turn, but it's awkward. As for the bigger attack, fighting double colorless, 180, not affected by resistance. One thing that's really cool here is that a lot of the time you're going to have to go double turbo energy here. You put an energy on, hit for 50, and then the next turn you hit for 300, except it's not really 300 because you've had to attach a double turbo and it's only 280. Well, 280 is the magic number to KO Pokemon V-Star, and one of the most played V-Stars around at the moment is, of course, Lugia, which has a resistance to fighting, which doesn't matter because you hit through resistance. Yay! It's a Stage 2, and you've got to stay in the active after your previous attack, and it's too awkward, and that makes me really sad. I do actually like the idea here of just hitting for 50, staying in the active, and then forcing your opponent into an awkward situation. Either they've got to try and KO you, or you do a giant attack next turn. But I just don't think it's going to work often enough. I'm giving it 3 Wassies, so I can't bring myself to give Golem any less than this. But make no mistake about it, this is not as good as I wanted it to be. I knew it was a Stage 2 going in, fine. It's not good enough. But Kangaskhan might actually be good enough. And I love it. Interestingly enough, Kangaskhan EX also had... Well, there was an older Kangaskhan EX, I should say. And this one is very similar to it in terms of attacks, although way better. Although that one did have a Mega. And actually, it was one of the very, very, very few Mega EXs that actually saw play, despite coming out in the time when you actually had to end your turn to Mega Evolve. It still saw play because it was that good. So what does this one actually do? Well, we got 230 HP, which for a basic EX is actually incredibly high. Nice. And we've got an attack for a single energy that draws 3 cards. Now, let's be clear. This is not a reason to play the card. You do not play Kangaskhan because it draws 3. Playing it because it draws 3 is a very bad idea. This is nice as a bonus. Weirdly enough, Galarian Berserker V also had this. Basic Pokemon, single colorless energy, draw 3 cards. Never saw a huge amount, and I do know some people that really tried to make this work because it's really fun. Never was good enough. I did 20 damage for each card in your hand. It takes way too long to build that up to enough damage to be relevant, unfortunately, which is why it never saw play. First attack here, very nice bonus. Not a reason to play the card, but a very nice bonus nonetheless. And yeah, I showed you the special art of Galarian Berserker because it's just got really cool artwork. I like it. Now, the other attack here is a bit flippy, but for 3 colorless energy, flip 4 coins, 100 damage for each heads. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's flippy. I don't trust flippy attacks. No, I don't trust flippy attacks. Yes, it is flippy. But if you assume that you're going to hit 1 out of 2, which you should, 50% and all that, you're expecting 200 damage here. 200 damage is pretty good for 3 colorless energy on a basic. And because it's colorless energy, you can accelerate it with basically anything. And I kind of love that, honestly. This is kind of awesome. You can accelerate this with Baxcalibur. I don't know what you're thinking, right? Well, Chen Pao can do this much damage. Yes, it can. But if you've got Chen Pao and Baxcalibur, and you've got 3 energy, you're maxing out at 180 damage. You put them all on Chen Pao, or 2 on Chen Pao, 1 somewhere else, discard all 3 of them from play, you deal 180. You don't deal 400. And to be fair, the expectation with Kangaskhan is 200, so that's actually more than Chen Pao. And here's how I feel about Kangaskhan. I'm not saying you actually rely on this as a flippy attack. But I am saying, put it as a one-of in a Chen Pao deck. Turn 1, you've got nothing going on. If you don't think it's going to be KO'd and give up 3 prizes, draw 3 cards, help yourself out for next turn. You're face down with a 300 HP plus Pokemon, and you just don't have the energy. It's going to take 5 energy for Chen Pao to hit 300. Takes 3 energy and 3 coin flips on a Kangaskhan. And look, if you've got the energy available to whack onto Chen Pao, obviously do that. But if you don't have enough energy, this is a nice desperation attack. I really like this as a one-off in a bunch of decks as a desperation attack. Playing Gardenia's Vigor? Use it to attach 2 grass energy, attach for turn, great desperation attack. If you've got a better Pokemon that you can put 3 energy on, then do it. But that's not... There aren't many Pokemon that can hit 300 or 400 damage for 3 energy. And I'm not saying you rely on it. I want to be 100% clear about this. I am not saying you rely on hitting 3 or 4 heads from Kangaskhan. I'm saying you play it as a one-off in decks that can accelerate energy to it. And if you're desperate, if there is a Pokemon you cannot KO in any other way, or you don't have enough energy, or you're on a 1-turn clock or whatever, whack the energy on, flip some coins. As a desperation attacker, I like it. As an early game draw engine, I like it. As a let's build a deck around it and flip a bunch of coins, oh my word, no. I ain't doing that, ladies and gentlemen. I am not doing that. But I've given you 2 examples. There are others, and there will be more in the future. In any deck that can accelerate to a colorless Pokemon like this, flip some coins. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Flip some coins. Have a go. Use it as an emergency attack / early game draw. Don't rely on it, I cannot stress that enough. But there are a bunch of decks around that can accelerate energy to stuff like this. And in those decks, as a one-of emergency attacker, if you play it, you will win games. Whether it earns its spot in the deck, I don't know. We need to do a lot more testing. But there will be games where you literally cannot get a KO with anything else, and you can flip 3 heads with this and get the KO. And I don't want to be in a situation where I have to flip 3 heads or I lose. But I would much rather be in that situation than just losing. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the new EXs. And like I say, there are some, as I'm concerned, really, really good ones in the set. Remember, we've got Jinx that gets an automatic KO on any Pokemon that is asleep. And then obviously we got the Hypno that when you evolve into it will put them to sleep. We've got Mew that will draw until you've got 3 cards in your hand and can copy any attack on your opponent's active Pokemon, even if you don't have the right energy to do so. And I think Mew could be a phenomenal one here. I think Mew could be amazing. We've got Zapdos that's got free retreat with lightning energy attached and can sit there and do 120 to the active and 90 to a bench damage Pokemon, which I think could end up being really, really good in a bunch of lightning style decks. We've got Wiggles. I can't believe I almost forgot about Wiggles. Because Wiggles comes along, right, with a fairly gigantic HP, 250, but if you've got a special energy attached, then it actually goes up to 350 instead. And then you've got 90 damage, but if you played a supporter card this turn, you do 180 instead. Wiggles could actually end up being really, really good here as well. There are some... Alakazam can attack from the bench. So hide behind a Disruption Pokemon and just attack from the bench. We got Blastoise that has got 330 HP and an ability to reduce the damage by 30, and you can discard 2 water energy from your hand and deal 140 for each one discarded, 280 in total. There are some good EXs in this set. I don't think Golem joins their ranks. I honestly think there's a chance Kangaskhan might. I'm going to go ahead and give it 4 Wassies. I really like this. Not as a builder deck around it, but as a single card tech desperation attacker / early game draw engine. Oh yes, I like this a lot. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, all kinds of fun things. And of course, you can get shout outs on the channel, like the lovely Kieran, who's been a supporter of ours for a long time now and is a very lovely person. So shout out for the support and for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.